Hey, I tell you, it's groovy. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the TMI show where you always get too much information. As you can see, Ted Rall is not here. Neither is your intrepid host, Manila Chan. Instead, y'all are stuck with me, your esteemed radical producer. Is esteemed even the right word? I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't think steamed, just
Steamed.
steamed.
Hey,
Yeah.
steamed works. And then Scott Stannis, editorial cartoonist for the Chicago Tribune, friend of the show, personal friend of mine. And between the two of us, we are going to completely break the format, and we're just going to have fun doing it. So I hope
Yes.
that y'all enjoy this.
Yeah. I'm bringing the groovy back, man. That's my whole goal now in life is to bring back the word groovy.
Hey, listen, I have no problem with the word groovy. I like it, and I
Yeah.
do like. Hey, I do like how shiny those glasses are.
Aren't these? I mean, they're reflecting everything that I'm looking at. My little fill light, my computer, the windows, my soul. Maybe if I take them off, how's that? I just had cataract surgery, so I am my eyes are bionic, but trying to get used to the whole focal thing. So if I look a little weird, that weirder, that'll be it for those of you who happen to catch the DMZ America podcast, which I do with Ted Rall. Ted Rall does what about now 1,800 podcasts.
Uh, I know it's a lot of them. So, and here's the craziest thing: for whatever reason, y'all have me being as the producer on all of them, and I don't
Yeah.
understand. It's just like, well, the price is right. In all fairness,
That's got to
so
be it. Absolutely.
no, if you can't find a competent producer, at least get one that works for cheap.
that's, that's the slogan of Robbie Inc.
Hey, listen, it is what it is. But hey, I'll tell you what though, because we're doing all kinds of stuff. We're just gonna have some fun here. What the hell?
Sure.
Hold on 1 second. So since I'm running the show, I mean, we can do this. We can throw up the Putinbot logo right there behind me. Look at that.
Yeah,
Shameless self promotion.
hey,
I have no
there's
problem.
nothing wrong with that, man.
Hey,
Nothing wrong at all. The Putin bot. Can you explain just real quick? And
yeah,
but what do you do? Because I'm not a gamer.
right.
I still play Unreal Tournament Game of the Year edition. Pop in on Steam to do that.
Yeah.
That's really the extent of my game. And my son keeps buying me games and says, "You're going to love this," and I don't play it because I'm bad people. But explain to us what do you do on your channel? What exactly? If I tune in, what do I see?
Well, I'm a variety streamer, so I do a bunch of different things.
Oh, what does that
So,
mean?
for example, what that means is that I really like dark fantasy type games. So, if you ever watched The Witcher on Netflix or read the Witcher books, or Lord of the Rings, I like dark fantasy type stuff. I also like. I know this is going to be sound shocking. I like military strategy games, especially ones that are that have a historical base, like Rome Total War. Fun game, and it starts off like what it talks about. It's 300 years before Julius Caesar is born, and you just go right on up till
Oh, that
either you
sounds
conquer
pretty cool.
the world or you fall apart. And yeah, no, but I just do all kinds of things. Basically, whatever I enjoy is what I do.
And you
Because the
talk about
secret,
it. You actually are gaming while you're talking, or
oh yeah, yes, I'm
okay.
actually playing the game, and people will go, let's talk what they're doing right here. They'll log on and we'll talk and we'll just jaw. And for some reason, people like to watch people play games, and hey,
Now, do you remember when
I'll take
video
it.
games were accused of causing mass shootings and bestiality and
Oh yeah,
disco? It was blamed for a lot of stuff. So
oh yeah,
so you're still responsible for that shit. You're the guy.
very much. Well, listen, I mean, within if you're going to go with a moniker like Putin bot gaming, you
Yeah.
have to be willing to embrace all of the ills of the world, and it doesn't matter, Nazism, racism, transphobia, xenophobia. You just kind of take it all because one thing
Jim
I've learned.
Belushi.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, especially if you're a right winger. I mean, you're going to be called everything in the book. So the best way to kind of overcome it is just accept it. Because if you accept it, people can't use it as a club anymore. It's like, yes, I'm all those things.
Oh, you got to push back a little bit. I've had that my whole career being a conservative / libertarian commentator, and it's used as a bludgeon to shut you up.
Of
And it's
course.
just, I actually had the most interesting response to a piece recently. Someone wrote to me on a cartoon and used the word stupid, and I'm not kidding, 13 times in a single paragraph.
Oh, that's a high level argument right there.
Well, there are things called thesauruses. You can buy them, or there's even free ones online, and just type in the word stupid and start using, mix it up, man. Come on, use your IQ, be smarter. We've got some breaking news,
We do.
apparently.
Yeah,
You got
we
it up
do.
there. You got it up there, dude.
I do. So it looks like Israel has decided to bomb Qatar because if you're fighting a war on 7 fronts, what's one more? So I mean,
Yeah.
so you just go and you just smack yet another sovereign country because I mean, hey, reasons. It's not like there's nothing happening in the news, and Israel already does not have a public relations problem. They're committing a genocide, just blowing the hell out of everybody, blowing apartment buildings and hospitals. So then what you do is that you go and bomb another country where the
Yeah.
negotiators are actually at. Because
Yeah, but if you have if you happen to, if you have an entity that applauds and loves having shooting people at random bus stops, this
sure,
kind of thing is going to happen. You and I probably are going to disagree on this. I know Ted and I disagree on this violently, not violently because we've never yelled at each other in the decades we've known each other, but I'm sorry, Israel. They didn't attack Gaza out of whole cloth. This wasn't just a thing like they woke up on a Thursday and said, we can have latkes or we can we bomb the living hell out of Gaza. October 7th was a real thing. It was a vicious attack
sure,
on the heels of lobbing missiles consistently into the territory of Israel from Gaza.
sure.
Regardless of what Ted says, that this is just harmless, fun stuff. We're just, it's just nutty, kooky, crazy stuff that the kids do. No, you're lobbing missiles into and you. My point is that now, with the attack on the bus stop, Israel is saying, screw this. The Hamas guys who are drinking and partying in Qatar are just, okay, enough's enough.
Right.
We're going to go after them. They did the same thing in Israel. I mean, in Iran. They're going to do the same thing in southern Lebanon. I don't know that this is. How can I put this? I think the attacks now are beyond the pale. I mean, and I know that that's an understatement of the grossest kind. But let me just say that I've been in support of Israel's for years, for decades, since birth, virtually. And
At least you're consistent.
well, I am my father. You want to hear a quick Genesis story?
Yeah, please.
If you're a comic book fan, here's the Genesis story. Here's the my father was one of the first soldiers into the Orjov concentration camp. You've never heard of it, but it was the first concentration camp liberated by American forces. And so it had a profound effect on my father.
Right.
And he became very, very pro-Israel. Very never again. He saw the Holocaust up close and personal.
Sure.
So that impacted me in my view of Israel. In fact, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I actually tried to sign up for the Israeli army back in the
No, I didn't know
70s.
that.
Yeah, back in the 70s, they had recruiters going through the United States and Jewish communities. And I approached one. I said, hey, I think you're fighting for democracy. I completely support what you're doing. He goes, well, are you Jewish? I go, no. He goes, you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Do you speak Hebrew? I go, oh, no. He goes, maybe it's best if you just stayed in the United States and worked for us here. And so,
And the point that you just made is really one of the biggest points of contention that I have. When it comes to Israel, really, it's two things.
okay,
When it comes to Israel waging wars for whatever it feels are in its national interests, go with God. Do as you will. The issue that I have with it is whenever my tax dollars are being used to support it. For me, that's the issue. That we're $37 trillion in debt. Our country's got major problems right here. Israel has a higher standard of living than what we have. They have free education. They have free healthcare. They have all the things that people in this country have been screaming for my entire life. But we can't have those things. But what we can do is that we can print money, creating inflation to fund them. And I have yet to be able to find a Republican who can tell me, well, Robbie, this is why this needs to happen, other than the fact that they are erroneously reading Genesis chapter 12, saying, well, we have to bless Israel or God's going to curse us. I submit to you that God has not been blessing America since 1948. We're under the judgment of God because of the behavior that we're doing. I mean, where's the blessing? I don't see one. I see a curse. So unpack this for me. Why
Oh, I
should
think.
we fund Israel?
Oh, I agree. I agree to a certain. I think we should. I mean, I'm a small C conservative in my life. As you know, I'm boring as hell. I believe that incrementalism, if you're going to start defunding something that dramatically, do it in stages. You and I both know the Israeli lobby is very strong, very vocal, and very well funded, and
Yeah.
that means they fund campaigns. Not that there's money involved in politics in the United States. But in this instance, I don't disagree with you. I think that Israel now has an infrastructure and an economy that's strong enough to support itself, and we should step away from that aspect. Absolutely, $4 billion, I think it is, or more. Could you imagine putting that towards
Yeah.
um, schools? Putting that towards, oh, I don't know, law enforcement. You know,
Yeah.
all of that is. But going to the attack today, I mean, we don't know anything about it right now. We're just hearing
Right.
reports. There's been explosions, which makes it sound like it's either drone or missile attacks on whatever office building Hamas is. Is it in an office
Yeah.
building? Do you think they're in an office park and it's like, Dr. So and so, podiatrist, here's the rug doctors, and then here's Hamas?
Yeah. I, I mean, maybe because it really is a political party, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack, I'm gonna get a lot of pushback whenever I say this, and whenever I say this, people always the knee jerk reaction is Robbie's pro Hamas when Robbie says this. For the record, Robbie's not pro Hamas. Robbie is on team get the hell out of the Middle East, fight out yourselves, and inshallah go with God. That is my default position.
Okay.
This war did not start on October 7th. The Jews, the Israelis, or you want to call them, they went in 1948 and they ethnically cleansed Palestine, the Levant. They've put these people on reservation on effectively reservations. I live in Montana. I know something about reservations. There's one that's a few miles south of where I am, but they took it up a step. For example, if you live in the West Bank or in Gaza, they have checkpoints all over the place. You cannot move freely without permission. You cannot import, you cannot export anything. You're completely dominated by this foreign entity that at best expelled your parents and your grandparents, at worst killed them. And then you put these people in these open air prisons, and you're honestly going to expect them not to fight back. I know if it was me, now granted, I'm probably more belligerent than most people you run into. If you put me into a cage and you tell me sit down, shut up, and you're going to like it, if you don't, I'm going to kill you. If you do like it, I might kill you anyway. My default position is I'm going to fight you,
Okay,
and
but
I think that's part of the human condition.
that's a history that ignores about half of the history. Israel, when it was created, if you ever seen that map, is first of all, it's preposterous. If you've ever seen when it was created in 1947,
Oh, it's crazy.
it was like, if you've ever seen it, it's like little nuggets here of Israel,
Yeah,
of majority Jews, majority Palestinians, majority Muslims here. So as soon as the United Nations, prodded on by the United States, recognizes Israel, the Arab states go to war against this entity.
yep,
Israel, as is its wont, kick their ass, as
yep,
it's done in virtually every other war since then. The Oslo Accords, the attempt at peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians has been ongoing. The Palestinians are the ones who, I mean, the old phrase, the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Oslo
yep.
gave them 94%, 96% of what they were asking for at the negotiating table. And then, Arafat, the pedophile slobbering piece of shit that he was, goes back and just declares an intifada. It's like, what? And starts blowing up buses. If you remember this, prior to that, things were pretty chill. I mean, the border was Palestinians worked in Israel and immigrated or went back and forth between the barriers. And as the Intifada continued, that's when Israel built the walls. That's when they had the checkpoints, and that's what takes us to today.
Sure.
But the other side of that coin and one that isn't talked about a lot, and it needs to be discussed, is the Israelis' view of Palestinians. This is to your point, Robbie, and it's been a point of great consternation and just shame on those of us who support Israel. And that's the language used by the far right parties and the settlers who are illegally, in my view,
Yeah.
moving into territories and settling territories that they shouldn't. And the way they describe Palestinians sounds vaguely familiar. I think maybe, I don't know, language they used 50, 60 years ago to describe, oh, I don't know, Nazis described Jews
Yeah.
as animals. They dehumanize them, and they continue to do this. And that is to the shame of the Israeli state. Now you have Netanyahu. Someone posted here that he's a war criminal. I believe that that's true.
Yeah.
I believe that they've gone too far, but he's stuck in a position which is really complicated for him, not for us, but for him.
Right.
First and foremost, if he loses his job, he goes
He
to
goes to
jail.
prison.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other people who want to try him as well. So he also is beholden to far right religious parties
Yeah.
in Israel. And so he's doing their bidding. He's, if not he himself, those people do carp the language I just described. And language is important. The view of another
I
human
agree.
being, saying that another human being is an animal or a piece of trash or whatever language you want to use, is against everything I believe. And I think
I agree.
against anything a civilized human being should believe, that Palestinians have rights. Now, can we get to the table, and do they have leadership? I got to tell you, Robbie, I got to giggle a little bit when these countries now are recognizing the Palestinian state. And you're going, it would be like me recognizing the Robbie state. It doesn't
It doesn't
exist.
exist.
There is no such thing. So I can say
No.
and it's such a typically European gesture, isn't it? To just kind of go.
It's completely meaningless because what does a state have? And we'll just, I know this is a little aside. We haven't got to the first story yet. We're already 17 minutes in. And I promise I actually want to keep this thing on time today.
Yes.
But it's just insane because what does a state have? A state has a state has a currency. A state has a military. A state has the ability to have international relations, and a state has the ability to defend itself and wage war. None of those things a Palestinian state can have. And so that's why I say whenever the Palestinians are on best the most cruel Indian reservation on the planet, or at worst, they're in an open air prison. And and to your point, the Israeli people, at least a significant portion of them, support this because the government that runs them is a government that they elected. And so whenever you have the ADL saying that if you're like me and you want to close the borders and expel the migrants, I'm being called a racist, xenophobe, a white nationalist. Meanwhile, you have someone like you, Scott Stannis, who wants to volunteer and go join the IDF to go kick Arab ass, but you're not allowed to because you're not an ethnic Jew. Hypocrisy much? Yes.
And plus, I was also legally blind in my left eye. That may have had something to do with that as well. You're talking about, do we want to dovetail back into now American
Hey, let's do it. I mean,
attacking Americans here?
Hey, we can just duct tape this thing right on in. It's no problem at all. Listen, if someone's looking for a polished professional show, y'all in the wrong place because y'all got me, and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I just have opinions. And then we got Scott Stannis, who is not only much more handsome than I am, he's also much smarter.
Well, and a recognized commentator, whatever the hell that means.
Means you draw excellent cartoons.
I do. I can draw funny pictures, and I can draw you with a nose this big. Okay, now let's talk about other occupied territory. Let's look at Chicago.
How did you like that? How did you like that thumbnail that I made?
Help me. Which one was that? I know I saw it.
Yeah. But what I did is I dressed Trump up like Sherman. So he's instead of marching on Georgia, just marching on Chicago.
God. Yeah. It's so funny. You're a Southerner living in Montana. I'm a Northerner living in Alabama. This makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it?
Yes.
But okay, so Trump is talking about sending National Guard troops to Chicago. They're now having a surge,
Yeah.
an ICE surge in Chicago. Um, you and I disagree on this a lot, and
Yep.
let's dive into it. First off and foremost, if I can we just dismiss sending troops to Chicago? And I'll tell you why, because this is where you and I are going to agree, I suspect. Um, he's not sending. Well, it's what he did in Washington D.C. He didn't send them to the bad parts of town.
No.
He sent them to the mall and to Pennsylvania Avenue. Well, not a lot of crime. There's some, sure, certainly, probably some petty crimes, some um, pickpockets, all that stuff. But that's not where the crime is occurring. Where the crime is occurring in Chicago, if you know Chicago, and they're going to be on the Mag Mile, the Magnificent Mile, which is the Michigan Avenue. That goes along the river, and it crosses the river. It's a beautiful part. I mean, if you've never been to Chicago, honestly, do it because it's gorgeous. They call it the
Gotcha.
Paris of the South, which I thought, okay, seriously, that's stupid. I mean, the Paris of the Midwest, not the South, but the Paris of the Midwest. And Robbie, it's gorgeous. I should meet you there someday and show you around because it really is a beautiful city. Um, that's where the troops are going to go. They're not going to go to places that names of places you probably don't know, like Austin,
Yeah.
Inglewood.
Yeah.
Um,
I've never been to Chicago. I'm about to blow y'all's mind. I've never been to a big city. I've never been on a subway.
oh,
So
well, we should meet there. And you're like a friend of mine. Funniest conversation I ever had when I got the job in Chicago. A friend of mine who worked at the Birmingham News asked me, he was talking about what building are you in? I said, yeah, we moved to an apartment downtown, and it was a 51-story building. And he said, how many people are in that building? I started to crunch the numbers. I said, I think it comes out to about 1,800 people live in this one building. He goes, that is more people than live in the town I was born in.
yeah.
In one building. It's kind of, he said, it's sort of astounding to think. But I can guarantee you, Robbie, if the Trump administration was sending troops to Austin, to Inglewood, and there are other suburbs to the west as well that are in dire need of policing, they would be welcomed with open arms. No question. But
I'm
that's not
sure.
what this is. That's not what this tastes like. That's not what this feels like. It's not what it is. This is a Republican governor sending troops to a blue city run by Democrats. And believe me when I tell you, as you say, you're not pro Hamas, Robbie, I am not pro Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson is the mayor of Chicago, and he is the worst. Okay. He's terrible.
Yep.
He's a socialist. He's an organizer for the teachers union. He gave them are you sitting down? He
I am.
gave them $1 billion pay increase. $1 billion pay increase, which now, are you still sitting down?
I am.
There's $1 billion gap in the school budget. Can you do the math? Because I think you can. Yeah.
Carry the one.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I think I've got this. I think I understand.
So sending, when he sent the troops to LA, went to defend the troops, that had at least that made more sense than the Chicago deployment. As I mentioned, if you sent it down to the south side, parts of the south side of Chicago, send it to some of the western suburbs that are also hurting and being overrun by gangs, then yeah, I think the people who own houses there would run out and throw flowers at their feet. But that's not what he's doing. And
Right.
there are cities in blue states like Ohio, red states like Ohio, and other cities that New Orleans is an example where they could do a world of good. I mean, the crime there is horrific. Memphis, Tennessee. And there are parts of Birmingham, quite frankly, the western part of Birmingham always leads the country as one of the most violent cities in America.
You know what they could do to fix this, honestly, and
Okay.
this is one of the biggest, and this is one of the reasons why people on the right look at me and I'm accused of being a communist, like Ted, which to me is
Okay.
insane.
Okay.
Trump's big, like you said about the Palestinians, how they never miss an opportunity. The same thing applies to Donald Trump because he ran to fix problems, and he is doing none of the things that he ran on. Now, here's how you fix this. If y'all are in Chicago, I know y'all are watching right now. You need to put up either a Ukrainian flag or an Israeli flag and say, "We need help." If you do that,
Well, then the French show up, and no one deserves that.
well,
Go
They'd
on.
surrender as
I'm
soon.
sorry I
Listen,
interrupted.
listen. The French would surrender as soon as they got there. I mean, that doesn't even matter. So no, there is that. But I
France
mean,
would be a
seriously.
whole.
I mean, no, and to
You're
be honest
right.
with you, I oppose in any way, shape, or form using soldiers for police work. They're not
Of course.
trained for it. Soldiers are trained to do two things. They're trained to kill. They're trained to kill people, and they're trained to blow stuff up. That's why I oppose the militarization of the police. Civil policing is just that. It's supposed the people that you live with, they're not your enemies. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, are they lawbreakers? Yeah. Should they be taken care of? Yes. Should they go
Yeah.
to prison, go to jail? Yeah, sure. But the reason why you have George Floyd issues is if you train a cop to be a soldier, you're not getting a cop, you're getting a soldier. And so what my question is, for the people of Illinois specifically, and the people of Chicago in particular, if you want to have a better life, why do you insist on continuing to elect people who do not like you at best or who hate you at worst? I mean, you own it. This is the
Yeah.
government that you, just like with Israel, you voted for this. You own this. And this is the same argument I use for illegal immigration. You have agency. If you come from Honduras or if you come from Chicago, you, sir, you, Juan or
Yeah.
Jose, you have the power to fix the circumstance in which you live. It's not the job of the federal government to police you.
Well, to your point, man, use a story to illustrate what you just said. Um, and it's a long story, so get comfortable. No, I'll bullet point it.
Oh, listen, I've got my coffee right here. I'm ready.
Oh, great. we um we had some friends in from out of town. We decided there's a place in Beverly, which is very far south of the city. We were stupid and couldn't figure out how to use the metro, which is the long term commuter train. So we just hopped on a bus and we went through the south side of Chicago, which was terrible. Because, and not least of which is because these people were clearly not getting the services that nice, happy, upper middle class, wealthy neighborhood which I lived in and nearby got. Our roads were the snow remover was incredible. It was removed from not just the street but from the sidewalks. It was the garbage was picked up. It was a well run. We lived in the loop. Now go to the south side of Chicago. They didn't get any of these. But here's to your point, Robbie, to your point, a alderman by the name of Sandy Jackson. If that name sounds familiar, she's the wife of Jesse Jackson Jr.
Oh,
She
the
was an
Rainbow Push
alderman.
Coalition.
Yes, very good. She was an alderman for a district on the south side, a very poor ward in the south side of Chicago. She lived, worked, and sent her children to school in Washington, D.C., where her husband was a congressman. They did not live there. She came in for one editorial board meeting at the Chicago Tribune and could not name two streets in her district. I'm not kidding. But the people in that district, because of the name, for whatever reason, continue to reelect her. So to your point, if you're going to keep reelecting garbage representatives, you're going to get garbage. And that's what these people got. So, we have Brandon Johnson as the mayor. It's a fluke. It was a weird election. But the school teachers union is massive and powerful and has a lot of money. And so they shoved him into office where he's clearly way out of his depth. Stop electing people like that. You look at Gary, Indiana, one of the most horriblest cities, which is in Indiana. So you won't see. Yeah. By the way, you're not seeing any ICE raids at Trump properties. Are you noticing this?
Yeah, I have.
Just throwing it out there.
Oh, well, because Trump, I mean, in 2016, Trump said that he opposed H-1B visas because they're a scam, which they are. But now, though, he said H-1B visas are great. He loves them. He wants more of them. Import the entire fucking third world. Hey, there's no problem here. And that's Trump lost me a long time ago when he supported red flag laws. But here's the thing that pisses me off the most.
Don't explain red flag laws real quick.
So red flag laws, basically, the Constitution guarantees that we have this thing called due process. That means that the government cannot take away your life, your liberty, or your property without being convicted in a court of law by a jury of your peers. Red flag laws means that the government can take away your firearms without you not only committing a crime, you don't have to be accused of committing a crime. All it takes is an accusation for someone, say Robbie's crazy or whoever's nuts. Then the government can go, they can seize your guns, and then you have to pay to have them stored. And if you don't get them back. Fact check me on this,
Oh,
because
I'm believe you.
that is how they work. And when Trump, when he was being pushed back on this in his first term, he was talking to some congressmen. I can't remember who it was. He was sitting at the table with Dianne Feinstein, everyone's favorite corpse. And he said, "What you do is that you take the guns first, and you do due process second." That's not the small c government that I want.
Okay.
That's how you radicalize someone like me to make me want to fight you. And so, if it was Joe Biden or Barack Obama
Oh God.
or any other lefty saying what Trump did, every Republican in the country would be up throwing a complete and total hissy fit. But because Trump said it, the Democrats did this, and the Republicans sat on their hands and did nothing. It's just like with the omnibus bills.
Oh gosh. Well, the one big
I
beautiful bill, please.
Yeah, just a complete joke. And so that's my point about, you get the government that you deserve. If Republicans want this kind of government, if they want to live under a government that hates them and is going to spend not them into debt, not their children into debt, but their grandkids into debt, enslave everybody by destroying the currency, maybe where you can't get a home till you're 45 years old, then don't be surprised when people get radical and the younger generation looks at you and says, "I hate you."
Why hasn't that happened yet? I mean, I'm 66, so
Yeah.
I should be hanging from a tree, quite frankly. Why hasn't that happened? Why hasn't there been versus these mamby-pamby wussy protests? Why hasn't there been more outrage and more anger?
I think that there's two parts to that. There's two parts to that answer. One,
Okay.
and taking a test of this, whenever he was here visiting here in Montana, there are so many pot dispensaries. They're keeping the population drugged. I think that's a big part of it, honestly.
You are the only other person who has ever said that besides me. I have said that over and over, that this rush to decriminalize this stuff is so we have a stoned populace.
Yeah,
Go on. I'm sorry.
because
I'm so happy
well,
to
no, it's
hear
true.
this.
Well, no, but I mean it's true, because if your population, so there's a couple things about this. One, if you are just going through your day to day, just trying to survive, you don't have time to really think about higher level things about, what can I do to make my society better, because you're just trying to pay the bills and take care of your family. So that's number one. Number two, if everyone is stoned and drunk, and you just have this massive influx of legal and illegal drugs, that's going to reduce the aggression level to an extent. And then third, the rage that really is out there, especially among the younger generation. And by younger, I'm talking about teenagers, like my kids' generations. They're waking up to it, and they're actually getting more and more radical. And they're saying no to the drugs. They're saying no to the booze. And a lot of them actually starting to turn to religion because they want something that's stable, something that has stood the test of time. That's where you're starting to see the
Yeah.
backlash is with the Zoomer generation. So I don't think it's going to be your generation hanging from trees. It's going to be mine.
Oh, well, but better you than me, I say.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, my biggest fear, honestly, and I've said this before, I think that when this thing implodes, and it's going to, the country is so divided among political and ethnic and religious and economic lines. It's not going to, when this thing comes unglued, it's not going to be like it was in 1860. It's going to be complete balkanization, and it's going to just explode. And I think that the people in DC, they remind me of the revolution in Russia. When the Russian nobles read their, were in the movie theaters, just watching plays and stuff, while people outside were literally talking about lynching them. I think that's where we are now, and I think we probably maybe have 10 or 15 years. Once my kids' generation comes of age, I think that's when things are really going to come unglued.
Well, now we're going to get dark because I've been having this discussion with a lot of people who I really, really respect and admire. And I ask a simple question: is America over? Is
Oh
this
yeah,
the end?
yeah,
And to a person, Robbie, well, like you're not, well, add you to the list. They say yes. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean we cease to exist? There's balkanization that, you have the South will secede again. And the people forget that the first secession movement was New England.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. War of 1812.
that was the British showing up too,
Yeah.
by the way, just burning shit.
Oh yeah.
You know the history. I love this. I love history and little snippets of this. Why the British didn't go all the way up the coast and just wipe out and take America back is that they thought it was a trick.
Yeah.
They had no opposition going up the coast, and they said, "Okay, wait a doggone minute here.
Yeah.
This has to be a trick." And they
It's gonna
didn't
be
do it.
It's gonna be Cowpens 2.0.
They could have taken New York. They could have taken hell. They could have gone all the way up to Boston. I mean, to Maine.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, so it's not going to be a balkanization. I look at the example in history of England, of France, of Spain, of Portugal. All those countries, the Netherlands particularly, were the giants. They ran the planet
Yeah.
as for most of them, half the planet. Because we kind of tend to forget that there was also China, but they ran half the planet,
Right.
and they were the colossus of stride the globe. What could possibly happen? Oh wait, here comes Spain. You're out of here in
Yeah.
Portugal. Spain astride the globe as the colossus for the next 1,000 years. Here comes England.
Yep.
Um,
But here, but here's the
and
here's
those countries still exist. They're still here. They
but here
still go ahead. I'm
but
sorry.
here's the but here's the difference. At least until Winston Churchill decided to kill his nation, England was primarily a English, Scottish, Welsh nation. France is made up of French. Spain was made up of Spaniards. Belgium's made up of whatever the hell a Belgian is. Who can even know it anymore at this point? The problem is that here in America, you can go ask, and I challenge you to do this. Go to your local high school, and I've done this, and it's terrifying because I live in a mostly white place. I'm in Montana, for God's sake. Go ask people, what does it mean to be an American? People can answer the question because we are so mixed up, and because of immigration, and usually we've imported over 100 million people over the last, I don't know, 15 years, and that's just legal immigration. Forget about the illegal stuff. And so you have this population. We don't have a majority population. We don't have a uniting religion. We don't have a uniting culture. The only thing we have are our symbols, like the flag, the Constitution, those things, and not even those things are under attack. Trump could not do what he's doing now back in the 90s. He would have been impeached.
Oh,
But yet here we are. And the reason for
yeah,
that is, where's Congress? What are they doing? They're on permanent vacation. Seriously,
yeah,
why do you have a Congress? What do they do?
yeah. Well, they
But
they rubber stamp the president,
of
is what
course.
this Congress does.
And
I
so
couldn't agree with you more.
when this thing falls apart, I mean, the term balkanization is a real term because there's so many different ethnic groups, and there's nothing that unites any of those people. That's where we are now. And
Yeah,
right now the one thing kind of saving us above anything else is at least the promise that we can, financially provide a better life for our kids, to have this myth of an American dream, buy a house, have something for the grandkids. And people are waking up to the fact, no, that's a bunch of BS too. When that goes away, and people realize that the people who are in charge of business and government not only do not like you, but they actively hate you, that's when the gig is up. And that's when we fall apart on ethnic and religious lines. And that's what terrifies the hell out of me.
well, I agree with you too. I mean, I view it a little differently, but I see you mentioned that what holds us together. There's a lovely book. It's short. It's only about 160 pages called Rubicon. I was talking about this last night, as a matter of fact. And it talks about the last few years, the last 2 decades of the Roman Republic.
Yeah.
And Romans were like, we're Republicans. We vote. We have, people get to vote here, and we have representative government, and we're a republic, and we're a republican. Hey, who's that guy crossing the river?
Yeah.
It talks about how fragile a country that's held together by an ideal is.
Yeah.
And the idea of things as quaint as the Constitution, and that, you touched on it earlier, that things like due process and the rights of the individual, minority rights, the rule of law should, and when laws become sort of, I want to enforce this one, I'm not going to enforce that one, I kind of like this one.
Yeah.
Then you cease to be what the dream of America was by the forefathers. And where we are today is there's no e pluribus or unum. I mean, it's so fractured, and we are at each other's throats. That's political, and that's happened so many times before, Robbie. You know that. I mean, this isn't anything new. But the undercurrent of it prior to that was, we're still Americans, and we learned civics, and we learned them in class. We learned what that meant, and what does it mean to be an American. And I have to believe that what you say with your conversations with high school students today is absolutely true. They could not define what that means. And I think part of that, they say, well, that's because the right and Trump and blah, blah, blah. I say, horse shit.
Yeah.
It's because prior to that, you had the woke, and going forward, and you can rename things, you can change the name. So then Trump goes, well, I'm just going to change it to Gulf of America. You can't do that. Well, the hell you can't. You change the name of a school because the guy had the temerity in a culture that 80% of people had slaves, that he had slaves.
Yeah.
You don't have context. You can look at something, and history, like everything, and is run by human beings, and it's populated by human beings, and human beings, as our Lord and Savior said, ain't perfect. No. That's why there's such a thing as, sin. Where am I going with all this right now? Is just like, we're fractured in a way, and Robbie, you codified it better than I did, that I'm kind of rambling right now, but we are now fractured in a way that I don't believe we come back.
No, it's fatal.
More to your point, I think less than like, I can't provide for my family, is what's going to happen when the tariffs get so onerous. And let's assume for a moment there is a climate catastrophe of some sort or another, a seasonal one, and people are starving. People can't afford to feed their families. I took my wife out for a cup of coffee at Starbucks yesterday, and we went nuts because we had a rough day, and we bought a muffin. So, to be fair, it's 2 drinks and a muffin, $15.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and so
I don't know if you got a chance to talk to Ted about what the prices are like here in little old Podunk, Northwest Montana, where I am. He said it's more expensive here than it is in New York City.
Oh, I bet.
But we have half the wages. And so if you look at a map, look to see what population of people has the most guns. It's where I live. So when people figure out that there is a real problem here and that there is no voting way out of it, then then you have 2 choices. You either just overdose on fentanyl and die, or you fight back. And it seems like that's a binary choice that we're given. And it's crazy. So where do you see this going with Chicago? I mean, what's going to happen there?
Trump seems to be hemming and hawing, as he so often does, about sending troops. I suspect he will deploy troops to the Mag Mile. Like I said, that's Michigan Avenue. Probably around the Bean. You're going to see troops around the Bean. But you're not going to see, it will, the crime rate will go down for a short period of time. I'm reminded of what Ted Rall talked about the Taliban when, the latest conquerors, the United States, went in there. Right. The Taliban has the opportunity, and the bad guys of Chicago have the same thing. They live there. Yeah. They can go back to their shitty little apartments and wait. And the deployments don't last long. What was it in LA? 2 months? I mean,
Yeah.
and
It's
so
that.
yes, the crime rate went down, but you're going to see it go boop and then go back up to where it was. There were 60 shootings in Chicago 2 weeks ago. 60, 60 in a day. I'm not kidding.
That's
Um,
impressive.
that is, yeah, that's a lot of firepower right there, brother. And
Yep.
but these soldiers aren't going to be anywhere close to that. Could you imagine? I'm sorry, I don't want to just listen. If
No,
you're in
go
the
ahead.
National Guard, God bless you. You know what? I mean, I'm glad. Thank you. But could you imagine a dozen National Guardsmen in gangbanger land, and the gangbangers decide, okay, fuck these guys, let's get them.
Yep.
I know where my money is going to go on who's going to win that one.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
um,
No,
Now
I
the
agree.
ICE guys are scary, and that you're going to see. You're already seeing an increase in ICE activity in Chicago. Um,
Yep.
Now, we've got a few more minutes, right? Let's see what.
Yeah, yeah, we got time. Yeah,
Okay, let's talk about ICE
yeah,
and
we can just
about
go ahead and
that.
slide her on in.
You actually changed my thinking. No, I want to say you changed the way I think about immigration enforcement. I still don't like ICE. I don't like lack of due process. I think that not barging into a home or a business, personal property without a warrant is just flamingly illegal and flies in the face of everything American. But you talked about what immigration and unchecked immigration has done to wages in where you live, for instance.
Yeah, it's
And I
bad.
think that's true everywhere. That if you can pay someone a fraction of what you can pay me to do, let's say
Mhm.
cartooning, editorial cartooning, you could find someone to come in and do this job, and pay. Yeah, if I'm a business person, how do you say no to that? I can run my business for a fraction of what I was, running it before. Yes.
Yeah.
So up there where you live, the impact has been profound.
Oh yeah, but my town is dying. No, Columbia Falls, the little town where Ted was staying there, he was here. Uh, the main employer. There are two main employers here in this area. One was an aluminum plant. The other one was a call center. I don't know if you watched the little interview that Ted did with me, where he interviewed me about my life. When I came up here to Montana, before I came up here, I was working on a cotton farm at this place called Jay, Florida, back when the Great Recession hit, picking cotton. And I did that for over a year. And you're paid by the pound. I lost that job because illegal Mexicans came in, and yes, they were Mexicans. I talked to Mr. Diamond. They were Mexicans who would work for less than half of what I was able to work. And I had a newborn son at the time. So I
Mm,
lost a crappy job picking cotton because of illegal immigration. Came up here to go work for a call center called Teletech. That job was outsourced to the Philippines, and that they hired 700 people. And then the aluminum plant was shut down, and those jobs outsourced to China. And so my question to Republicans and Democrats both is, why are you doing this to your people? And
well,
no one
help
can
me
answer this question.
walk with me on this and help me to understand this.
Yeah.
I like free trade.
A free
NAFTA.
trade is not fair trade.
Okay,
That's the
explain.
difference. So, for example, the concept of free trade is a good idea. Like, for example, whenever no, we can do the DMZ America podcast as a fair way, as a good example for this, or even this podcast. So, Robbie, I want you to edit these videos and do this service, and then in exchange, I will give you this monetary amount. Does that sound good? Yes. I'm exchanging a good for a service, or a service for a service, whatever it happens to be. The issue is, though, is, let's just take China for example, where it's not a free market society, and they use prison labor to manufacture things, and then they artificially deflate the value of their currency. So then what you're
Yeah,
able to do, and Japan did this too back in the 70s and the 80s, where you just flood a market
yeah.
and you kill the industry of the nation of where it is that you're trading at. That's the difference between free trade and fair trade. Like in our example, if for the DMZ podcast, let's just say instead of charging what I am, which is a very reasonable rate,
It is very
uh,
reasonable.
Let's just assume, for example, if instead of doing that, you wanted, instead of doing one video a week, you then decide you're going to bump this thing up to 20 videos a week, and you'll have all these clips done. And he said, but Robbie, you've already agreed to this price, so this is how this is going to be. At that point, yes, I entered into a free trade agreement, but it's not fair because you're then monopolizing all the time that I have to do anything else. It's the same way with nations. Nations create wealth by making things and then selling them. That's how nations actually make money. Governments make money by taxing or by printing
Sure.
it, but the actual
Right.
wealth of
Or
the
tariff.
nation is because of a trade good that you are producing that you are then exporting. That's why Russia was able to defeat the sanctions in the West, is because they make products that people want, and they also have natural resources that people want. The problem that we have here in the United States is that we don't produce anything at all anymore because we have deindustrialized ourselves and in the name of profits sent all those jobs overseas. And that's why Trump is, what he's doing is so idiotic with these tariffs. If he was smart, and I use that word very loosely because Trump is not smart, he's a complete buffoon. If I was President West before I got assassinated after 6 months into my first term, what I would have done, I would go to Congress and I would invite every reporter from all of the news, from every news association here. So what we're going to do is that we'll do it at the State of the Union. I go up there, I have my little speech, and then throw it away. So here's what we're going to do. Every congressman and senator is here. I want y'all to pass a law, and then I will sign it. A law, mind you, not an executive action, saying that every company that is overseas, you will pay a 200% tariff codified by law until you bring those industries back. And then you have to hire Americans. You can't hire H-1B visa holders. When you start doing that, these tariffs go away because by definition, tariffs are for outside goods. That's how you reindustrialize the country. What Trump is doing is stupid. All you got to do is just wait till he's not president anymore. He's not a king.
Well, yeah.
And then here's the coup de grace. Here's why I would do this on a national television address. If you're a congressman or if you're a senator and you're going to vote against this, you have to explain to your constituents why it is that jobs in China or in India or in Vietnam are more important than jobs in Gary, Indiana, or Kalispell, Montana, or Chicago, Illinois, or Detroit. Because you're appealing directly to the people. That is a truly populist way of making this thing happen.
Well, but I think the counter argument would be, I like going to Walmart and I like
Mhm.
going and picking up a bucket that I can pay $2 for.
Sure.
Your description means that bucket's going to be $12
Correct.
because but and I also think that free markets, as ugly and as sloppy as they can be, I like market and I like free market. I like the marketplace. I like what it does. I like that it's alchemy. And it does. There are people who get hurt, people and things that bad things happen, but it also
Mhm.
tends to shake itself out and right itself far better than anything that a government can do.
Then why do you
Um,
have to be, then why can't people afford to buy houses anymore? So using this argument that you just made, explain to the 22-year-old kid, well, young adult at this point, they're not kids. Why is it that you have to sacrifice the ability to get a home, get married, and have kids for corporate profits? Make that argument because I can't.
oh, listen, there's good arguments on both sides of this. I always like to err on the side of don't let the government touch things, especially the economy, because it never ends up well. You talked about the radicalization of the young, and they should
Yeah,
be. They have a lot to be radicalized about, but their solutions are not. The a poll that came out recently that a lot of people really don't like capitalism anymore.
sure.
But the alternative is not going to be to your liking. I guarantee
Well,
when the state can pick winners and losers.
well, keep in
And
mind, I'm not talking about nationalization. What I'm talking about is incentive, because this all goes back to that free trade agreement, that the whole free trade versus fair trade. If you're in China, you're in China to make money. Well, how you do that is because instead of having to pay an American $15 an hour to make a bucket,
yeah,
you can pay some Chinese prisoner 30 cents a day all you're doing is you're taking away that incentive. You're taking away that profit model. No, the South was condemned for having slavery back in 1860. That's one of the catalysts for the war. How is what we're doing anything different? The only difference is instead of you're slaving on a plantation in Georgia, they're on a plantation in China. What's the difference? Make the argument.
Well, no, I think you're right. So I think that you could, but you have a choice now. You have a choice that you can support and buy that $2 bucket, or you can go and buy the $14 bucket. But we both know which one you're more likely to buy because it's in your self interest. And it all boils down to economic self interest. And
Sure.
um, that ultimately is that's what's, whether you like it or not, that's
Okay.
what drives history and that's what drives economics.
Okay. So
And
what is the Republican solution then to increase wages? My solution to increase wages is mass deportation. If you don't want to reindustrialize the country, you have to make labor worth something again, and you
well, that's
can't do that by importing 200 million people.
yes, and that's
So
where
that's
you
why I'm
kind
such
of,
a hard ass on immigration.
and that's where you kind of sold me on or at least let me understand that position, which I didn't understand completely until you couched it in those terms. And I think you're probably right. Listen, no sane person is going to want open borders. I mean, I worked with the Reason Foundation, Cato Foundation, libertarians who want to just open up all the borders and legalize all the drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't go that far.
yeah,
I think if you're going to be a sovereign country, you have to have a sovereign border and have an actual, immigration policy. We're coming up to the deadline, aren't we? We're coming up
yep,
to the
yep. We are. We're about to pull a plug. I'm going to do an ad read, and then we'll just have some last. We're actually going to get out here on time today, and we
okay.
only got through one headline, which no, we kind of touched on the
One
other
and a
thing. We kind of touched
half.
on immigration. Hey, no, that counts. Let's just go ahead and do an ad read here real quick, and we'll call this a day. And for those of you who are tuning in, I appreciate y'all being
Very
here. My
much.
my maiden voyage of being a guest. And Scott, seriously, thank you so much for
Oh, my pleasure.
for, for
This was
coming in.
great.
You're good people.
Well, anything I can do to help.
Hey, you're one of my favorite cartoonists. So the two cartoonists that I know. All right, so here we go. Hey, football fanatics, are you ready for some primetime NFL action? Tune in to Westwood One for the grinding glory you crave. From jaw-dropping touchdowns to game-changing plays, don't miss a moment of the excitement. Catch every snap, every tackle, and every victory on Westwood One. You can listen to the NFL on the NFL app, on the Westwood One Sports app, Westwood1Sports.com via Westwood One station streams, or by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports. If it's the NFL, it's on Westwood One. Now that's complicated to say with a Southern drawl. You know what I'm saying? I'm just stepping all over my tongue. It's like, what the hell is this?
Westwood One. Yeah, no. Did you know they just evaluated? I think it was the Wall Street Journal evaluated all of the sports, leagues, and the NFL was number one by quite a bit. Actually, it was 19 yearly, $19 billion.
I believe it.
That's astounding to me. I can, as an old man, I can remember watching football, the old AFL before it ever joined the NFL. Was born in San Diego, so we watched the Charger games. But I can remember my father, who was involved in television, dealing with the NFL and dealing with the
Yep.
games and having all that stuff and trying to get the games that actually people would care about because when the Falcons played, meant the Rams, nobody in Wisconsin really gave a crap.
Right.
Shockingly. So Westwood One. Okay. Well, thank you, Westwood One,
Yep.
for being a sponsor. We appreciate
Yeah,
that.
for
And
sure.
so, and if you love NFL, that's the place to go. It sounds like, dang, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean they got all the things, but no, Ray. No, Ted is good. He just had a doctor's appointment this morning, so
Yes.
he asked us to step in, and of course, me being the inept producer that I am, I'm running everything through my gaming studio. So
You did
no,
great.
hey, no, it is what it is. But do you have any parting words of wisdom before we bug on out?
Just check out if you want to check out my work. I'm going to shamelessly self promote.
Please
Go
do.
to gocomics.com and /Scott Stantis. You can see my editorial cartoons, or gocomics.com/prickly city. and you can see my comic strip. And obviously, I do as previously mentioned, do a podcast with Ted Rall called DMZ America, because apparently Ted Rall does podcasts with everybody. Ted Rall's a
Yes,
podcast slut, is what Ted Rall is.
he is.
So check it out. And Robbie, thank you. And so to promote
Hey,
Putinbot,
no,
uno mas time.
oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm a Rumble premium creator. Rumble helps me pay my bills. So if y'all would just pop over and whenever y'all see me go live, I'd appreciate it. Just hang out, chat, talk, and really, all I got to say is that before we go out, how you're talking about how the American experiment is dead. I hate to
Yeah.
say this, I think it is because when Augustus, when he took power in Rome, he didn't call himself an emperor. He kept all the trappings of the republic alive.
Oh yeah.
So people are still voting and stuff. I think that's where we are now, and it really sucks. So if you want to escape from the drudgery, come watch me kill some pixels, and we'll just have some fun.
Okay, man. Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. All right, everybody. Ted will be back tomorrow. I will be guest hosting again, but that's better than me being the actual host because unlike me, Ted knows what the hell he's doing. And he keeps to the itinerary.
Mm,
So we'll go from there.
okay. Bye,
Bye bye,
everyone.
y'all.